Hey guys, tonight we're going to sleep like the Vikings did. Not in a private bedroom. Not with memory foam or apps playing whale songs. No. Tonight you're lying on a raised wooden platform inside a longhouse by the sea, somewhere along the icy coast of Norway. It's the middle of winter in the Viking Age, and outside, snow is whispering across the frozen fjord like powdered glass caught in the wind. The world is silent, white, and vast. But inside, you're wrapped in warmth and rhythm and firelight. The hearth at the center of the house glows softly. Not blazing, just glowing, its amber coals breathing like the belly of a beast that's too tired to roar. A log cracks quietly. Sparks float upward and disappear into the shadows above, where smoke slips out through a small hole in the turf roof. The air smells like wool, smoke, pine resin, and something faintly sweet. Maybe dried hops, or the herbs your mother burned earlier when she tidied the hearth. You lie on your side, wrapped in a thick blanket of coarse wool. It's scratchy against your neck, but you're used to it. Beneath you is a mattress of straw and hay, gently rustling every time you shift. You can feel the individual stems bending and settling under your weight, an ancient sound, small and alive. The fire's heat reaches your cheeks, but your toes are cold. That's all right. Everyone's toes are cold. But your chest, your belly, your back, all of it is warm. Your head rests on a soft leather cushion stuffed with moss and old wool. It smells like earth. Clean earth, familiar earth, the kind that tells you where you belong. To your left lies your sister. You can't see her face, but her elbow pokes your ribs in her sleep, as always. She kicks. She always kicks. To your right, your father's large frame blocks the worst of the drafts. He sleeps curled toward the fire, with your mother's hand draped lightly over his back, her fingers rising and falling as he breathes. Behind them, your little brother mumbles in his dreams, something about a boat made of fish bones. Across the hearth, your uncle lies on the opposite sleeping platform. One of the dogs is curled against his chest, snoring softly, twitching its legs like it's chasing geese in a dream. And near the wall, half upright against a bundle of folded furs, sits your grandmother. She doesn't sleep much anymore. Her eyes are cloudy but sharp. She pulls her shawl tighter around her thin shoulders and murmurs a story to no one in particular. Maybe to the gods, maybe to herself, maybe just to the fire. And so Freya became a hawk, and her wings carried her over the 9 realms, through frost and flame and the lands of dreams, where no man walks but all men visit. You've heard this one many times, but you don't mind. It's part of the evening, like the fire, like the smell of broth still clinging to the rafters from dinner. You shift slightly under your blanket, feeling the firm but familiar pressure of the straw beneath you. It creaks and sighs. You adjust the skin over your legs, sheep, not reindeer. The good one. Your mother put it there when she thought you were asleep. Your body sinks deeper into the mattress. You feel heavier, slower, but not numb, just right. You think about today, the walk down to the shore to check the fish traps, the way your boots slipped on the icy rocks, the way your mother laughed as she caught you by the arm before you fell, the creak of the wooden pail against your hip, the cold air biting your nose. Dinner was simple. Porridge made from barley, a little dried fish, and fermented milk with a spoonful of berry mash. The taste is already fading, but the warmth of it is still there, somewhere in your middle. You remember the way your sister curled up next to you earlier, resting her head on your shoulder without a word. She only does that when she's tired, or scared, or both. You didn't say anything either, just leaned your head gently against hers. For a while. You remember your mother lighting the dried bundle? Valerian, hops, and sweet mint. She crushed it in her hand first. You heard the stems snap. She dropped it into the hearth with a whispered word, then fanned the smoke with her shawl. A sleep ritual passed down from her mother and her mother before that. It made the air feel rounder, softer. You inhale again. The scent is still here, subtle, comforting, a spell woven in smoke and memory. Your grandmother's voice has stopped now. The last word faded into the fire minutes ago. She has closed her eyes, but she hasn't moved. She sleeps sitting up, always has. You can still hear the wind pressing gently against the walls of the house, not howling, not pounding, just reminding you that it's there, that the world is big, but that here you are small and warm and safe. The fire pops quietly. A single spark floats up, dances, and disappears. The shadows along the far wall stretch longer. The house shifts in its bones, wood creaking, wool settling, people exhaling. No one says goodnight. That's not how things work here. Sleep comes when it comes, and no one asks questions of it. You pull your blanket higher up to your chin and slide your feet toward the warmth of your sister's calves. She flinches in her sleep, but doesn't push you away. You close your eyes, not because you've decided to, but because that's what they want to do. The line between waking and sleeping is already soft, already blurred. Your breath slows. Your mind begins to drift. First sleep is here, the deep one, the honest one, the one that pulls you down without a fight. You don't dream of war or gods or great voyages. You dream of a boat drifting slowly down a river in fog, of hands you love resting on your shoulders, of warmth and safety and being held by the night itself. And you will sleep like this, for a time, but not all night. Not yet, because the fire will sink lower, and someone will stir. And there is still more night ahead of you, the part between sleeps, the quiet hour, the secret hour, the hour your body remembers, even if your mind has forgotten. You don't know it yet, but soon you'll wake. You don't wake all at once. First, there's the feel of your breath. Deeper now, slower. Then the slight twitch of your ankle beneath the wool. Your fingers curl under your cheek, dry and warm. The kind of warmth that seeps in and makes a home of your bones. And then you open your eyes. Just a crack. You don't know why. There was no sound to startle you, no chill to chase away. Nothing urgent, nothing wrong. You just woke. And it feels right. Not like you were interrupted. More like your body knows that the night is still young, and that you are allowed to exist inside it, awake for just a little while. Around you, the house is still breathing, still warm. But you're not the only one awake. There's movement. Soft, barely audible. But there, across the hearth, you see your mother's outline, half shadow, half memory, rising from the sleeping platform. She moves quietly, carefully, a blanket still draped around her shoulders. Her silhouette flickers as she nears the fire. She doesn't speak. No one does at this hour. You sit up slowly, pushing the blankets aside. The cold brushes your skin like fog, but not enough to chase you back down. It's not biting cold, just the kind that makes you move a little quicker toward the firelight. Your feet find the floor, a layer of straw over smooth wood, faintly warm from all the bodies sleeping nearby. You step lightly. The floor creaks just once. The hearth is still glowing. No flames now, just low, glowing coals, pulsing gently like the heart of some old forest beast. Your mother squats by the fire, adding a handful of kindling. She doesn't blow on it, just waits. The smoke swirls upward, thin, pale. It carries the scent of sweet grass, of ash, of something faintly medicinal. Maybe the bundle of dried valerian she laid on the stones earlier in the evening. You kneel beside her. She glances at you, and there's no surprise in her eyes, as if she expected you, as if this moment, this exact one, child and mother in firelight, while the rest of the world sleeps, has happened before, and will happen again. She hands you a carved wooden ladle, and you lift the iron kettle from its hook above the coals. It's still warm. Inside, water, steeping slowly with leaves and roots, herbs gathered months ago under high summer sun. You pour. The scent blooms in the air, bittersweet, calming, earthy. You take a sip. It tastes like memory, not of one thing, but of many. The first frost, the last berry harvest, the hum of bees in a distant field. Your mother wraps the blanket tighter around herself and sits back, her legs crossed beneath her. Her hair has come loose from its braid. It spills like dark thread over her shoulder. For a while, neither of you speak, and there's no need to. Across the hearth, your grandmother stirs. She's not asleep. She rarely is. Her hands begin to move slowly, reaching for a small basket tucked beside her. Inside, wool. Soft, grayish, already carded and ready to spin. With her fingers steady and unhurried, she begins to draft the fibers, her spindle twisting slowly in the low light. You watch the thread form, thin at first, then stronger, longer, wound neatly into a ball of something useful. You sip again. The tea warms your chest, your throat, your fingers, but not in the way coffee jolts or wine dulls. This warmth hums quietly inside you. It invites, not commands, you to slow down. Your eyes follow the faint orange light as it plays across the beams above. They're blackened with smoke and age, heavy with the stories of hundreds of nights just like this one. You can almost see them, your ancestors, your great-great-someones, awake in this very hour, doing just as you do now, sitting, breathing, waiting for second sleep. You lean back against the wall, letting the heat of the coals wash gently across your face. Across the longhouse, no one stirs. Your sister sleeps with one hand flung over her face, the blanket twisted around her legs. She'll complain about a crick in the morning. Your father hasn't moved at all, his breathing slow, low, dependable. You look at them and you feel a strange kind of love, not loud, just solid. It's the kind of love that exists in shared sleep, in body warmth, in fire tended without thanks, in stories whispered and forgotten and whispered again. The wind hums outside, quieter now. The snow has settled. There's peace in that too. Your mother reaches out and brushes a strand of hair behind your ear. Her hand lingers for a moment on your cheek. She says nothing, just nods, then returns to watching the fire, and you feel still, not sleepy yet, not entirely, but softer, more open. Somewhere near the rafters, one of the dried herbs tied in bundles crackles as the heat reaches it. A puff of aroma drifts down, chamomile maybe, or mint. It mixes with the wool and the smoke and the faint salt of the sea that always clings to the wood here. You close your eyes for a breath, just a breath. And in that breath, you feel it, that you are not alone, that you are part of something very old, a chain of sleepers who have always woken in the middle of the night, not to panic, not to check phones or scroll or worry, but to pause, to be. The fire sighs. Your tea cools in your hands, and without knowing why, you begin to hum, not a tune you recognize, but something low and warm and human. Your grandmother hums too, just barely. Your mother smiles, but doesn't join. The fire listens. This is the hour no one talks about, but everyone remembers, the hour between sleeps, and slowly, gently, it begins to pass. The hour deepens. You are still sitting near the hearth, your tea now cold in your hand, though you don't quite remember when you stopped sipping. The wooden cup rests easily in your fingers, the warmth long faded from its carved rim, but you keep holding it anyway, more for rhythm than need. Your mother has nodded off again, sitting upright against the wall, her blanket wrapped around her like a cocoon. Her head tilts gently to one side, dark hair falling across her cheek, her breathing soft and shallow. Across the hearth, your grandmother has finished spinning the length of wool in her lap. The spindle rests still now, like a little sleeping creature, and she's wrapping the thread around a cloth-wrapped bundle in slow, practiced motions. You don't want to move. Not out of tiredness, but out of reverence. The world feels sacred, not in the way of churches or prayers, but sacred like frost on windows, like the hush of snowfall before it touches the ground, like the pause in a story just before the ending. This hour isn't for action, it's for presence. The longhouse creaks around you, but gently, like it's dreaming too. The wind outside is slower now, heavier with snow. It taps against the wooden boards, not as an intruder, but like a hand knocking softly on a door that will never open. You stretch your legs slowly and stand, joints clicking as you straighten. You pause, half expecting someone to shift or wake. But the house accepts your movement. You take a few careful steps toward the far end of the longhouse, near the door. There, beside the stacked firewood and the bucket of water, lies a small wooden chest. You crouch and open it. The hinges squeak just a little. And inside, you find what you're looking for, the small pouch of herbs your mother keeps for night weaving. You bring it to your grandmother. She's already opened her lap again. You sit beside her and open the pouch. The smell rises instantly. Lavender, dried linden flowers, and the faintest trace of honeycomb. You pull out tufts of wool, and together you begin stuffing a small linen sachet. Her hands are slower now than they used to be, but steady. She doesn't give instructions. She doesn't need to. You've watched her do this all your life. She hums a song, a quiet one, with no real melody, just a thread of sound to keep the air whole. You glance around the longhouse again. On the opposite platform, your father has shifted, not much, just rolled a little onto his back. His mouth has fallen open slightly, not snoring, just resting. Your sister hasn't moved at all, still curled like a cat, her braid tangled under her cheek. The dog lets out a soft huff in its sleep, then silence again. You feel calm, not sleepy exactly, but grounded, like your thoughts are low and steady, like river stones under a stream. When the sachet is full, you tie it closed with a scrap of woolen thread and set it near your grandmother's pillow for later. She thanks you with a nod and closes her eyes again. You return to your place near the hearth. The fire has dimmed again. Just coals now, pulsing gently beneath a few thin sticks of birch. You crouch beside it, watching the glow dance and fade like breath. You add one more stick, carefully, slowly. It hisses briefly, then catches. You wait and listen. Somewhere in the rafters, A mouse scritches softly, looking for crumbs. In the far corner, the meat hooks sway just a little as the house settles again. Then, another sound. Your name. Whispered. You turn. It's your mother. Awake again. Eyes still heavy, but aware. She gestures gently to the bundle of dried herbs hanging near the fire pit. The sleep bundle. Time to prepare it again. You rise, untie it from the beam, and bring it down. You take a pinch of each dried leaf and flower, crush them between your palms, and toss them onto the embers. A small cloud of fragrant smoke rises. It curls upward into the beams, trailing like a slow spiral. The smell is sharp at first, the valerian root biting at your nose, but then it softens. It mingles with the wool and the old wood, the sea salt in the air, and the faint sweetness from the honeyed birch tea. You sit again. This time, you lie back. You rest your head against the furs, still warm from earlier. Your legs stretch out. Your fingers loosen. Your jaw unclenches. You let your gaze go soft. There's no rush, no list, no need, just breath and light and wool. You stare at the coals. Each one glows with a slightly different hue. One red, one orange, one deep like wine. You wonder how many people have sat in this same spot, at this same hour, watching these same coals. Maybe your grandfather. Maybe his grandfather. Maybe some boy who lived 100 years ago and made the same tea and listened to the same wind. You feel close to them, all of them. You close your eyes again. Your mother shifts nearby, returning to her place beside your father. The blanket rustles gently. She sighs once and goes still. Your grandmother hums again, one last time. Fainter now. And for a while, nothing moves. No one speaks. The hour has passed. Not that you noticed it leaving. It slipped away like smoke through a thatch roof. You roll onto your side and feel the familiar weight of the wool over your shoulders. Second sleep is calling. Not with a voice, just with a feeling. The slow, gravitational pull of something older than time. Your arms grow heavier. Your breath sinks deeper. Outside, the storm has calmed. Inside, the last log collapses into embers. And you drift down again. Second sleep does not rush. It takes its time, like a tide slowly returning to shore, softening the world as it comes, and you welcome it. Not as a command, but as a companion. You lie there, half-curled, eyes barely open, listening to the fire's quiet hiss. The last stick of birch has split in the middle, a glowing seam of red beneath a cloak of white ash. It looks like a tiny volcano, pulsing low in its own rhythm. Your arms rest across your chest, heavy with stillness. The sachet of herbs tucked near your neck releases faint threads of scent with each shift of your breath. Lavender, mint, something faintly resinous and sharp, maybe crushed pine needle. You blink slowly, your lashes sticky with warmth. You're not asleep yet, but your thoughts are already turning liquid, dreamlike. Then, gently, a voice drifts across the darkness. Not loud, not urgent, just a whisper, a thread in the quiet. Your grandmother is speaking again. This time, not to herself. This time, it's for you. You don't open your eyes. You don't need to. Her voice is low and sanded with age, each word smooth from years of telling. She turned into a seal. She says softly, "Right there on the rocks where the sea met the snow. They said the gods made her that way, so she could slip between the worlds. Her stories never start with names, just moments, fragments. And that's enough." She left her cloak on the shore, and the man who found it, he was foolish, of course. He took it. He thought if he hid it, she would stay. She did not. You smile a little, still not opening your eyes. You've heard this one. But the point isn't newness, it's familiarity, like a favorite blanket with fraying edges, or a song hummed the same way every winter. The fire shifts again, settling into itself. Your grandmother's voice continues, blending with the wood smoke, with the soft creak of the roof beams, with the sound of your sister rolling in her sleep. She left when the moon was thin as a fishbone, walked into the sea with her back straight, didn't look back. Silence follows, not the kind that waits for a reply, the kind that's whole in itself. Your mother breathes deeply beside your father. They've returned fully to sleep now. Second sleep, the old sleep, the sleep that isn't interrupted by roosters or taxes or roads, the sleep of people who've worked and eaten and sat by the fire with those they trust. You turn your face toward the wall where a fir hangs against the cold and breathe in its scent. It smells like outside, like snow, old animals, and faint salt from days by the coast. You imagine the creature it once belonged to, roaming hills, bracing wind, alive in the frost. Now it warms your back, a gift passed down from hunter to weaver to sleeper. You sigh without sound. Your thoughts begin to lose shape again, images and feelings floating in your chest without words. You see a river, then a wolf, then a woven basket full of dried apples, then the seal woman again, laughing, mouth open wide, teeth like polished bone. Your mind drifts, but not fully, because still. There's the fire, still. There's the house, still. There's the night. From outside, the faintest noise, snow sliding off the roof, a soft shh, like a sigh too large to keep in. It comforts you. Not everything must stay. Some things fall away in the night, and that is good. You shift again, pulling your blanket tighter. Your sister groans sleepily and flings an arm across your back. You don't push it away. The air inside the longhouse has cooled, but the hearth keeps enough life to hold back the deep freeze. The coals have flattened into a glowing oval, and now only smoke rises. No flame. Your grandmother clears her throat gently, then falls quiet. She has finished the story, or at least enough of it to count. Her breath rasps in and out. The dog by your uncle's legs kicks once, chasing something through snowdrifts only it can see. You close your eyes again, this time not out of weariness, but because the darkness feels like home, like something older than walls. Second sleep comes slower than the first. It knows you now. It doesn't need to surprise you. It simply wraps around you, like the seal's cloak, and carries you with it. Your body is still. But inside, your thoughts move like water. You see your mother's hands picking herbs in midsummer. You see your father building the fence near the goat pen, sweat on his brow. You see your own feet walking down a path lit by fireflies. Except, there are no fireflies here. You've only heard about them in stories from traders. The mind is strange at this hour. It opens doors. It forgets time. You let it. Your breathing slows again, not forced, not controlled, just natural. The blanket presses down on your chest in that comforting way. Just enough weight to remind you where you are. Just enough pressure to say, stay still. You are safe. Outside, the wind begins to rise again. Not wild, not cruel. Just present. It moves through the grass and over the rocks. It brushes against the walls like a memory trying to get in. You hear nothing else. No voices, no steps, no gods. Just the soft song of the night. Just the hush of breath against linen. just the last little curl of smoke rising into the beams. And so you sleep again, not because you must, but because you may. The longhouse holds you, the wool covers you, the fire forgets your name, and the world, for now, is at rest. You wake slowly, not startled, not confused, just rising, gently, from the softness of second sleep. Your eyes don't open yet. They don't need to. Everything tells you where you are. The blanket is still tucked under your chin, heavy with night. The skin over your shoulders is warm from breath and shared heat. Your feet are tangled in someone else's, probably your sister's. And the mattress of straw beneath you hums faintly with the movements of other sleepers. You are not alone, and you never are. In the Viking world, sleep is not something done in isolation. There is no bedroom with a shut door, no individual mattress with numbered settings or lavender-scented sprays. There is us, always us. Family, kin, warmth, body, breath. Around you now, the longhouse is a quilt of sleepers. Your father, to your left, lies curled in his fur-lined cloak, one hand beneath his head, his boots still on. He never takes them off entirely, not in winter. Too many years of frostbitten mornings have taught him caution. Your mother lies close to him, but turned inward, facing the wall, arms folded around herself. She always sleeps that way, as if holding in dreams. Your sister is half on top of you now, her arm flung over your ribs, her breath soft and uneven. Her braid has undone itself in the night and now tickles your chin. You could push her off, but you don't. You like the weight. You like the proof. On the opposite platform, your uncle snores lightly, rhythmic and deep, like a distant drum. One of the goats bleated in its sleep earlier and startled the dog, who let out a single, gruff bark before settling back down in the hay. Farther down the line, near the door, your cousins are bundled up in a pile that might contain 2 or 3 people. It's hard to say. Just a tangle of elbows, furs, and hair. No one minds. That's just how sleeping works here. The longhouse holds everyone together, not only with walls, but with breath, with warmth, with presence. The walls are thick turf and timber, but the real shelter is each other. You blink into the low light. The fire has dimmed to soft gray ash. No coals glow now, but the heat still lingers, pressed into the stones, clinging to the floorboards, radiating from the bulk of so many warm bodies. The air is cool, not cold, just crisp at the edges. You pull the wool closer to your cheeks and breathe in the smells of night. Sweat, herbs, old wood, salted fur. It's not unpleasant. It's real. It's home. You remember the way the bed was made last autumn, stuffing fresh straw into the linen mattress, pulling out last year's crushed stems and tossing them to the goats. You remember how your fingers itched for hours after, how your cousin swore the old straw had fleas. It didn't. You remember watching your uncle retie the rope frame underneath, checking that it was taut. If it slackens too much, the mattress sags, and everyone rolls toward the middle. Which happens anyway, of course. Gravity has its own opinions. You shift slightly, and your back brushes against your grandmother's legs. She's not asleep, but not fully awake either. Her breathing is slow and shallow, but you can tell. She's listening. She always listens, especially in the early hours, especially when the dark feels longer than usual. You think, briefly, about the layout of the house, how sleeping arrangements mirror the structure of your lives. The eldest near the hearth, where it's warmest, children between adults, nestled like kindling between logs. Younger couples toward the door where the wind bites first. Guests, if any, sleep near the wall under thinner blankets beside the water pail. There's no shame in it. It's just how things are. The closer you are to the fire, the closer you are to the heart. You remember once hearing a merchant complain, in Frankish no less, about how barbaric it was to sleep all together in one room. No privacy, no dignity. But you don't remember feeling undignified when your mother held your hand through a fevered night, or when your sister cried quietly after a nightmare, and your father pretended to wake for water so he could hold her without embarrassing her. You don't remember ever needing privacy to feel safe. Only proximity, only presence. Your fingers find the edge of the fur blanket. You trace its stitching absent-mindedly, the clumsy repairs your cousin made last spring. Crooked lines, uneven thread. But it holds. The dog shifts again and lets out a small whine. A cold nose brushes your ankle. You twitch, then smile. The dog sighs and settles back down. You reach over and scratch behind its ear, fingers brushing against the animal's rough, short fur. It smells like wet dirt and old fish. It's comforting. Above you, on the rafters, a light breeze stirs the bundles of dried herbs still hanging from summer. You hear the faint rustle of thyme, the whisper of straw, the tap-tap of a hollow reed against a beam. You remember helping gather those. You remember running through knee-high grass, your fingers stained green, your legs scratched and sunburned. You remember your mother's hand closing gently around your wrist and saying, "This one. Pick this one. It smells like sleep." You close your eyes again, not to escape, just to listen better, to the breath of those around you, to the creak of wood adjusting its weight, to the memory of warmth tucked into every fold of the blanket. This is what it means to sleep in a Viking household. To sleep with others is to sleep deeper, to sleep safer, to feel the edges of yourself blur slightly, not in fear, but in comfort. You become part of something, a cluster, a quilt, a shared silence. You imagine the fire being rekindled soon. Not yet, but soon. You imagine your mother waking first again, shrugging on her cloak, poking the ash, stirring life back into the coals. You imagine your father grumbling and rising, heading out to check the traps, boots crunching across the frost. But none of that is happening yet. For now, there is this. A house full of breath and warmth and memory. A nest of limbs and blankets and soft, stubborn love. And you, still awake, but floating, tucked between hearts that beat beside yours. Second sleep still wraps around you. It is not over. It's only deepening. And you let yourself sink with it. You wake again. But this time, it's different. There is light. Not full daylight, not yet. Just a soft gray that slides through the smoke hole above the hearth, brushing across the beams like a whisper of morning. You open your eyes and blink against it. Your body is stiff, but not unpleasantly so. The kind of stiffness that comes from sleeping hard and deep and well. You're not the first one up. Your father is already at the hearth, crouched low, poking yesterday's ashes with the end of a charred stick. He doesn't speak. He rarely does in the mornings. Just grunts once when the coals catch and flickers of flame begin to rise. Your mother is beside him, holding a small bundle of kindling. Her hair is tied back already, though a few loose strands stick to her cheeks with sleep sweat. She hands your father the wood, and he arranges it with the practiced hands of someone who has lit 1,000 fires. You sit up slowly. Your sister is still asleep, twisted in her blanket like a loaf half kneaded. You gently tug your side of the cover from underneath her knee. She doesn't wake, just mumbles something about goats and turns the other way. The house is colder now. The warmth of shared bodies has faded. replaced by the breath of early air sneaking in through the seams. The fire will change that soon. Already the smoke is rising stronger, sweeter, swirling up past the dried herbs and out into the world. You step carefully over your uncle, still snoring, and make your way to the far side of the longhouse, where a clay pot rests near the hearth. Inside, last night's pottage, still thick, still clinging to the sides. You scrape some into a wooden bowl and bring it close to the fire. It smells better than it looks. Barley, onion, a hint of salt cod. The flavors have deepened overnight. You stir it slowly with your finger, watching the steam rise. Your mother hands you a piece of flatbread, still soft from yesterday, wrapped in cloth to keep it pliable. You tear it in half and dip it into the stew, letting the warmth fill your mouth. It tastes like sleep and salt and fire. Your grandmother rises at last. She says nothing, but takes her own bowl and joins you. She eats with quiet concentration, lips pressed together in a line, her hair sticking out like a crown of tangled silver. No one talks much in the mornings. Talking comes later. For now, it's just chewing, swallowing, sharing warmth. The clink of spoon against bowl, the pop of a log in the hearth. The first bird calls outside. Not loudly, just once. Then silence again. You glance toward the door. The thick fur covering it has begun to twitch slightly in the breeze. Soon it will be pulled aside. Someone will go out. The day will begin. But not yet. Your sister finally sits up, her hair a wild halo, her eyes squinting at the smoke. I dreamed of a giant, she mutters, with 7 arms, and a chicken for a hat. You snort. So does your grandmother. Your sister shrugs and reaches for the flatbread. In that moment, the house feels so real you could cry. Not because anything grand is happening, but because nothing is. Because everything around you is ordinary and slow and shared. You finish the pottage and rinse your bowl in the basin by the wall. The water is cold enough to sting. You dry your hands on your tunic and return to the hearth. Your father has begun sharpening a knife for the morning hunt. The scrape of metal is steady, almost musical. Your mother is feeding embers into the smoke box. Soon she'll place herbs inside to dry, or fish, or small strips of meat. Preservation is always ongoing. Even in sleep, the household never really stops preparing for tomorrow. You yawn and stretch. There is no rush, no bells, no alarms, no list to check off. The day begins as it always does, with warmth, food, silence, and light. And in your chest, beneath the quiet, there is a calm rhythm. The night is over, but it hasn't left you. It lingers in your limbs, in your breath, in the shape of the dreams you barely remember. You feel softened, the way bread feels right before it rises. And the day, when it comes, will not demand much all at once. Just your presence, just your movement, just your first step through the door. But before that, one more moment by the fire, one more blink toward the low morning sky, one more heartbeat wrapped in wool. This is how you sleep and wake. This is how you carry the night inside you, even after the sun returns, not as a burden, but as a gift. You don't rush to stand. No one does. The world inside the longhouse moves slowly, like a bear waking from winter sleep. There are movements, small ones, but no clatter, no barking orders, no boots stamping across the floor. Just creaks and yawns and the soft sighs of people remembering how to be awake. The coals are bright now, coaxed into flame by your father's careful tending. They crackle, low and steady, a promise of warmth through the morning chill. Smoke curls lazily upward through the roof hole, catching in the beams before sliding off into the pale, early sky. You pull on your wool tunic and shift your blanket aside. Your muscles ache in that satisfying way. Used, stretched, real. You rotate your shoulders, rub your eyes, and pad across the straw floor to help your mother with the basin. It's a shallow wooden tub, half filled with water carried in last night from the stream. Cold, always. She dips her hands in, wrings out a cloth, and hands it to you with a knowing smile. You wash your face with a quiet gasp, the icy water shocking you into full alertness. It stings in your nose, behind your ears, along the nape of your neck, but after, you feel sharper, more awake, like your skin has decided to stay present. Your sister follows, grumbling. She splashes her cheeks and mutters something about becoming a seal like in grandmother's stories, diving into the ocean to avoid morning chores. You snort and flick a drop of water at her. The others stir. Your uncle sits up with a grunt and begins scratching his chest under his shirt. He always wakes like a bear, growling, squinting, vaguely confused until he's had something to chew. Your cousins are untangling themselves from their sleeping pile, hair wild, one of them clutching a shoe like it's a prize from a dream. The longhouse becomes a hive of slow motion. Blankets are folded, mats are shaken out. Someone sneezes and curses in Old Norse. The air grows louder, but never noisy. Everyone knows the rhythm by heart. You help your mother roll up the sleeping pelts and stack them on the raised bench along the wall. The straw sleeping mats are checked, smoothed, retied. Dust is swept toward the hearth with a bundle of broom twigs. Your grandmother throws the first handful of dry ash onto the waste heap near the door, ceremonial almost. Your father opens the fur covering the doorway. Light floods in, cool and clean, the kind of light that makes you squint without being harsh. It smells like frost, like damp wood and clean wind and the faint, far-off scent of the sea. Outside, the ground glistens with dew and old snow, the grass pressed flat from nighttime weight. The sky is streaked with pale orange and blue, like milk swirled into ale. You step out for a moment, just to breathe it in. The cold slaps your cheeks, and your breath puffs out in front of you. Chickens rustle in their coop beside the longhouse, clucking low and sleepy. One goat lets out a protest bleat, indignant that no one has filled its trough yet. You crouch and touch the earth. It's solid today. No thaw. The ice will hold in the shaded places. Back inside, someone is breaking apart yesterday's flatbread to soften it in the pottage. Your grandmother slips a sprig of dried herb into the fire for luck. Your uncle stretches, farts once, and goes to fetch the hatchet. Another normal day, and yet, you still feel wrapped in something. The night hasn't left you entirely. It lingers behind your ribs, where your second sleep curled up like a cat. It stays on your fingertips, in the wool of your sleeves, in the rhythm of the fire. It's part of your bones now, soft and quiet and known. You sit again on the hearth's edge, not because you're tired, but because you're not quite ready to move fully. The warmth draws you back like a tide. You stretch your toes toward it and feel them tingle with returning life. Your sister joins you, holding a cup of broth between both hands. She blows across the surface, then takes a slurping sip. You look at her and smile, not for any special reason, just because. This closeness is easy, automatic. In a world where danger lives just beyond the next valley and food is never guaranteed beyond next week, you take softness wherever you find it. Your grandmother lowers herself onto the bench beside you. She's brought her spindle again. She doesn't spin yet. She just holds it. Then, without looking up, she says, "The snow's melting. We'll be gathering nettles soon." You nod. Your hands'll sting," she adds with a chuckle. "But they'll heal. They always do." A few steps away, your uncle sharpens a hoe. Your father is checking the leather ties on a trap. Your mother is wiping down the smoke shelf. The day is forming itself around you, not a single event, but a dozen small tasks braided into one long, ordinary song. You stand at last and stretch again, this time for real. Your knees pop. Your back cracks. You breathe in deeply and taste soot, broth, and cold air. And as you look at the soft light curling around the eaves of the roof, you realize something. You have slept better than most people in the world ever will. Not because of the mattress, not because of melatonin or earplugs, but because everything around you, everything, has held sleep like a sacred thing. The fire, the food, the wool, the silence, the presence of others. You didn't try to sleep. You simply let yourself fall into it. And now, morning has arrived not as an alarm, but as a promise that life continues, that warmth returns, that sleep, when it comes again, will welcome you back like an old friend. You look down at your hands, rough, dry, strong. You touch the spindle in your grandmother's lap, and you feel the thread between night and day, still taut, still humming. Later that morning, as the longhouse breathes into its full waking rhythm, you begin to move through your day. But slowly, as if your limbs are still reluctant to leave the warmth of the night. Your chores are simple. Bring more water from the stream, help mend a tear in your cousin's tunic, sweep near the hearth. But even in motion, you carry something quiet inside you, a stillness, the kind that doesn't come from silence alone, but from peace. And as you go about the day, you begin to see it everywhere. This quiet strength, this calmness that feels older than the bones beneath the floor. Your father crouches by the chicken coop, repairing the hinge with deliberate movements. He doesn't mutter, doesn't scowl, doesn't seem rushed. The hinge will be fixed when it is fixed. Your grandmother hums softly while she cleans a pot, the same low tune she sang when she spun wool near the hearth. It isn't for anyone. It just fills the space. Keeps the pulse of the home beating steadily. Even your sister, usually full of complaints by this hour, folds firewood with care. Not because someone told her to, but because it is simply what is done. You begin to wonder, what makes it this way? Why is the house so calm? Why does the day feel like something to settle into rather than something to conquer? And slowly you understand. It's not just the fire or the food or the closeness at night. It's how they think about sleep. To your people, sleep is not a battle. It is not something to wrestle into submission with oils or chants or stretching routines. It's not optimized, quantified, or forced. Sleep is a natural tide, a rhythm in the bones, a sacred act as old as stone. No one in your longhouse talks about needing to fall asleep faster. No one counts hours on fingers or worries if they stirred too often in the night. Waking at midnight is not a problem. It's part of the design. They don't fear the night. They don't dread the dark, because the dark is where the gods walk. Your grandmother told you once that Odin visits the longhouses in the second sleep, listening to the breath of warriors and children alike. That Freya watches the dreams of women to decide where beauty will bloom come spring. You didn't question her. Why would you? The gods are not in temples. They are in the wind that moves through the roof beams, in the warmth that gathers when two people share a blanket, in the silence of a long sigh before sleep takes you. And when your people speak of death, they do not do so with trembling. They speak of it the way they speak of snow. It comes when it comes. It is cold, yes, but also clean. And afterwards, you are not alone. You are gathered. This belief sits beneath everything, even your mattress, even your dreams. There is no panic in your house when someone wakes at midnight. No shame if they sit for an hour and spin wool or sip broth or listen to the goats shifting in their pen. In fact, some say the thoughts that come between sleeps are the truest, that the gods leave you messages only then, when your mind is soft and your heart is still. You remember once waking and seeing your uncle sitting in silence, staring into the coals. He didn't speak. He didn't move. Later, he told you he'd remembered the name of a friend who died long ago. Just like that, the name returned, pulled from the smoke. No one mocked him. No one said, "Why weren't you asleep?" They simply nodded, passed him tea, let him sit longer. Because in this house, you're not judged by how tightly you sleep. You're held, listened to, trusted, even in the dark, especially in the dark. You think of your own thoughts last night, how they twisted and unwound and floated through you like threads. You think of the stories your grandmother whispered, of the rhythm of breath shared with your sister, of the fire that never once demanded anything from you, only gave. And you think, maybe this is the secret, not just to sleep, but to living. Let go, don't force, breathe, be near others. Warmth is more important than control, kindness more important than schedule, belief more important than certainty. You sit near the open door and look out at the trees. They're heavy with frost, their branches hung like slow-moving dancers. The snow has hardened in the shadows. The path toward the stream sparkles with untouched ice, and even now, even in the brightness of day, you feel sleep's shadow resting lightly on your shoulders. Not pulling you down, just reminding you that it was real, that it will return. Tonight, you'll follow the same rhythm again. You'll eat, you'll warm your feet, you'll lie beneath wool, and when the fire sighs low and the coals blush with their secret light, you'll close your eyes. You won't ask for sleep. You won't chase it. You'll let it come, like a tide, like breath, like destiny, and somewhere between first sleep and second, between smoke and story, between memory and dream, you'll remember who you are, a child in a longhouse, wrapped in night, guarded by gods, held by warmth, and already the wind outside is turning. The sky deepens at the edges. The light folds itself flatter on the snow. Evening is a whisper, and you are ready to hear it. Evening arrives without making a sound. It simply is, as if it's always been waiting just beneath the edges of the day, curling in the corners of doorways, hiding under benches, biding its time. The chores are done. The water buckets filled. The goats bedded down. The chickens quiet again after one last burst of feathers and protest. Your hands are dry from cold and work and the washing of wool, but you don't mind. Your fingers move more slowly now, as if remembering something. The sky outside has turned to iron. Not quite dark, but close. That long northern dusk when color slips out of the world little by little, not in a rush, but like it's packing up after a long visit. Inside, the fire has been rebuilt. Low flames flicker around a log split earlier in the day. The smoke rises steady, curling around the roof beams like fingers brushing an old memory. Your sister is already wrapped in her blanket, feet tucked under her tunic. She yawns and pretends not to smile when you bump her shoulder. Your uncle leans back against the far post, humming an off-key song about a woman with seaweed for hair. Your grandmother mutters something about his pitch, but doesn't object. She's too busy soaking her feet in warm herbs. You help your mother with the meal. Simple tonight. Pottage again, thick with cabbage and barley. A strip of salted meat, just enough for flavor. No one complains. You eat in easy silence, broken now and then by a grunt or a cough or a snort of laughter. After, bowls are rinsed, blankets pulled out again, sleeping places arranged just as they were the night before. Straw checked, ropes tightened, furs laid in familiar folds. And again, without any signal or command, the house lowers itself, not in volume, but in energy. Voices grow softer, movements slow. The coals pop quietly as though remembering the rhythm. You lie down beside your sister and grandmother. Your father checks the door one last time, then sets his boots just beneath the bench, a habit so old it's probably older than his father. You pull the blanket to your chin and feel the warmth gather. It's not hot, but it's deep. The kind of warmth that seeps inward, not just into your skin, but into the space between your ribs, behind your eyes, beneath your thoughts. The kind of warmth that says, stay. The wind taps at the door, just once. The fire sighs, and second sleep waits patiently in the wings. You begin to drift before you even notice. Your body lets go before your mind catches up, and in the space between waking and dreaming, you think of nothing in particular. Not the goats, not the traps, not tomorrow, just this. The scent of wool, the scratch of straw, the sound of breath, steady and close, the firelight behind your eyelids, pulsing like a heartbeat. Your grandmother whispers again. Another story, another seal, or maybe a spirit in the snow. You don't need to know the plot. The voice alone is enough. It loops gently through your mind like smoke around a branch. Slow, soft, without weight. The night folds itself around you, and you sleep. The fire burns lower. The smoke moves more slowly now. Less like a curl, more like a drift, softening the edges of the beams above, casting long shadows across fur and straw. Your breathing has slowed without you realizing it. The blanket is still tucked beneath your chin, and the sound of your sister's breath has become almost like waves. In, out, steady and warm. Your fingers have stopped twitching. Your toes have curled into stillness. The world outside is quiet, but you no longer need to check. Because everything that matters is here, inside this house, inside this moment. You imagine the snow falling, though you cannot hear it. You imagine the stars returning to the sky, not cold, not distant, but ancient, watching over the longhouse as they have for 1,000 winters. And you think, this is enough. No striving, no lists, no fixing, no fear, just warmth and wool and time. Sleep returns not as an event, but as a return to yourself, to your rhythm, to the story passed through firelight, to the hush that belongs only to you. Your thoughts stretch one last time, then fall quiet. Your breath slows again, and beneath the roof beams, wrapped in fur and history and breath, you fade gently, gently into the softest kind of silence. Good night.